Our weapon of the day is something I am sure many people wanted me to get to. Our first roller, and the basic one that all the other rollers get compared to, the Splat Roller. These are meant for inking a lot of turf quickly. It has two methods of regular attacking. Flinging ink as a ranged attack, and running over enemies without any range to speak of. You can get a little bit of extra range out of a roller if you jump out of your ink with a little bit of momentum at the cost of some accuracy. You'll see expert players doing this a lot as they have that sweet spot nailed down, and it can get very annoying. While the Splat Roller actually has pretty decent range, comparable to the regular splatter shot, its key weakness in battle is its slow firing rate. A fling has to hit dead center, or it won't do over 100 damage to get that instant kill. If it's a swing and a miss, you're unlikely to get a second chance. Maps that require wall climbing to get around are difficult for this set. There's multiple ways to play a Splat Roller. You can be stealthy or as support for another player, but one thing it rings true no matter how you play it. Try not to go alone near more than one enemy. Unless you've been very, very stealthy, the slow rate of attack is unlikely to give enough time to beat multiple targets unless you are very practiced. Its special depletion is light. Sub as the suction bomb can be used as ways to avoid direct combat or for flushing someone out, of course. And its special is something new, the Killer Whale. This is Splatoon's Mega Killer Laser of Death. It travels through walls, has infinite range. Yeah, seriously, travels the entire map no matter how big it is. And it wrecks anyone in its path with little to no hope of survival. However, it doesn't cover any turf. Unless, of course, we're counting the squid guts of anyone unfortunate enough to run into it. When activated, it must be aimed before it will fire, and even then, firing it has a little bit of a delay. The process of activating, aiming, and firing takes about 2 seconds at minimum before there's any damage done. Use it early and not when someone is rushing toward you. It's best to take out snipers from a great distance, on pathways the enemy has to go through in order to accomplish their goal, or just on narrow pathways that'll help push the objective of the mode. So, don't be sad if it doesn't score a kill, or don't wail. Even if it doesn't end up splatting enemies due to its long startup, it can be useful in driving them away or creating an opening for your team. As long as you've pushed the objective, that can be important too. As for the wrong ways to use it, you can accidentally point it at the ground and waste it. I might have done this before. Might. In conclusion for this set, I will say that between the roller flick killing in one hit, the suction bomb having a delayed explosion, and the killer whale, well, being the killer whale, this set lets you be a really awful dick to anyone trying to use super jump on the other team. Anyway, during the equipment recommendations, I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room, or rather the elephant that is absent from the room. The fact that I'm not recommending run speed up, as I'm sure a lot of first-timers would think naturally, you'd want run speed up to make your roll speed faster. Run speed up does not affect the roll on rollers, since that would cause one of its attacking moves to become much stronger. So if you choose to run it, pun was not intended, but now I'm happy that I did, be warned that it only affects strafing between flicks and not while you are rolling. As such, I don't recommend it much. Second, unlocked at level 7, another custom weapon that is very popular, Krak-on Splat Roller. Only difference from the regular Splat Roller are in the sub and special, which starts us off with a very unique sub weapon, the Squid Beacon. This creates a one-use super jump point for the entire team. You can place a maximum of 3 of them at a time per player that has Squid Beacons. It's not truly one use, but I'm not really sure how else I can word it. The exact science of how it works is that it's destroyed once someone lands on it, but before it's destroyed, multiple people can jump to it at the same time. Squid Beacons don't reveal when a player is jumping to it like super jumping to a player does, so it has that advantage of being used over a player if you have the option. These can be massive time savers in fast-paced games and can help the team stay on key pressure points in the map. The beacons themselves are frail and can be destroyed by enemy attacks very easily, so place them near key points, but in spots that are not easily reached or shot at, like on top of a ledge or out of view from common camera angles. If you have beacons, take a beacon, leave a beacon. If you have beacons, lay down another one as soon as you use it yourself. I'm saying beacon a lot, I will try to knock that off. A responsibility the user has is inking the area around their beacons after laying them so that their teammates aren't screwed when jumping to it and can get to the action faster. A not immediately obvious use for them is bait. You can place one in an easily reached location on purpose, and since they're so easily destroyed, you might be able to plan ahead and sneak up on someone trying to destroy it, thinking that it's an easy target. This is going to sound funny, as it's even more of a long shot than the bait thing, but while they break very easily, they are technically a shield from at least one enemy shot before they go down. So you can technically hide behind one and get a little bit of extra time to do your roller flick. I know, it's weird. The Squid Beacon has one major distinct weakness other than having no direct combat use, other than that hilarious one-shot shield thing. It's visible on the enemy's gamepad map, meaning that they're capable of finding them as long as they're checking for them. Also, because of this, try not to clump multiple Squid Beacons too close together if there's an enemy with ink strikes. An ink strike is likely to strike clumps of Squid Beacons to easily remove them all from play in one fell swoop, and they're already looking at the gamepad to use their ink strike, so they're guaranteed to see what they are if they're going to be using their ink strike at all. While the beacon isn't an attacking move, it gives the roller users something to do when they can't fight or are swimming for a long period of time with nothing else to use their ink on. I've seen many games that were decided purely by a diligent Squid Beacon user, even if they weren't fighting so well. So, if you're not really the best at fighting out there, but you want to contribute in some other way, try out something with a Squid Beacon. You won't be disappointed. That was very long, and it's about to get even longer. I'm really just using a lot of innuendos in these bios. I didn't even mean to, I swear. That is because the special is the first time that we are seeing Kraken. This could be its own game, and I think the Amiibo developers knew this. It's an invincible squid form that lasts for 5 seconds and can easily swim over any hard surface or wall as if it were inked in your color, leaving a trail of ink behind it similar to an ink brush. It will move slowly on any surface that cannot be inked just as any normal squid form would. And if this is starting to sound like a bubbler because it's invincible, I'm sorry, but it doesn't copy to nearby teammates. Nice try. And also, unlike a bubbler, you don't have your main weapon. Instead, jumping will perform a short-range instant kill move. It's a good fit here due to how quickly rollers are able to get specials and how rollers generally have a hard time with head-to-head combat. Whether it's activated just as you're about to die to make a getaway, to use a super jump for free, or just to fight back when pinned down, be ready to activate it at the perfect moment. There is nothing more frustrating than being that 1/2 second too late at clicking in that right stick. Us Splatoon veterans know this anguish, and we know it well. On a brighter note, let's talk weaknesses. I mean, I consider actual weaknesses of the attack a brighter note than just barely missing the timing. I don't know about you. It's invincible, yes, but just like the bubbler, it's affected by knockback from enemy shots. Some rapid-fire weapons will be able to keep a Kraken at bay and waste the special timer. The Kraken is also a squid form. So remember, it goes through grates, and if there is nothing below you on a grate, you will instantly die. It is possible to kill someone camping on a grate with it if super jump is activated in mid-jump above a grate, but it's still something you need to worry about. Lastly, it should not be used to give chase to an enemy squid retreating into their turf, because it is slower than a normal squid, and the ending animation when it wears off is very punishable. This is another reason why it might not be best to rush rapid-fire weapons head-on. Swim speed up does affect the Kraken, making it slightly faster, and special duration up should be considered for absolutely any Kraken weapon. Despite the flaws, the Krak-on Splat Roller's abilities work well due to how fast it can gain access to the Kraken, how many things the Kraken can be used for, and beginners often gravitate toward this because, let's face it, it's just a really fun ability that gives a room for air that you get all the time. And the third variant, CoroCoro Splat Roller. Yeah, this is the CoroCoro that you think it is. That magazine that exclusively reveals Pokemon news has its own roller. You know, that magazine that means nothing to the rest of the world because people just scan them for the internet to see, since it's the only way that anyone that doesn't live in Japan will ever see that news at all. Not only that, but their issues have leaked online a week early every month for the past 15 years, making those reveals completely trivial, even if you do live in Japan. It really makes you wonder how they haven't folded by 2016, but I guess that got negative pretty fast. Anyway, has the same spats. Wow. I really am just spitting on them here. Okay, no. Has the same stats, except for light special depletion. Its sub is the Splash Wall, a stationary wall that blocks enemy movement and ink, but doesn't affect your own team's movement and ink. In narrow hallways and in one-on-one fights, these can give a great edge, effectively halting enemy advancement. A risky alternative use for this is to throw a splash wall into an enemy's path while they're swimming. It does a respectable 60 base damage to any enemy that touches it, allowing for an easy one-shot finish after it's hit them. Also note, if a splash wall lands directly on someone's head, it's a one-hit KO. This thing is a guillotine. If you're curious, it does 500 damage on the big balloons in training mode. Yeah, it's that certain. The splash wall lasts roughly 7 seconds under normal circumstances, but it will deplete faster if an enemy is firing at it. The remaining time until it stops functioning can be viewed inside of its ink tube on the main pillar. Splash wall is also one of the few moves in the game that have ink recovery lag. You'll be unable to begin recovering ink for about 1 second after throwing it. An important thing to remember when playing Splash Wall is that any enemy bomb that collides with it will instantly explode. It can even hit through the splash wall if you're standing too close. Also, don't think about putting a splash wall on the edge of a cliff hoping it'll run all the way down to the ground. I too was very disappointed upon trying this. As for how this works on a Splat Roller, this is a very unorthodox sub for what it is, and honestly, kind of a pretty bad first weapon to talk about what makes the splash wall good, but let's try. Unlike other weapons that use it to shoot from behind, the rate of fire and range of a Splat Roller doesn't make very good use of that, especially for more stealthy players that usually just attack away. It can play similar to a .52 gal by jumping and flinging from behind it to get good range out of it, but again, it's harder to aim. This is not a commonly played weapon at all, but I've seen two good uses for a splash wall on it. One is the tried and true throw it down and then get away, either by doing a super jump from behind it or just using it as cover so you can swim away quickly. The other is to think of it like an anti-splash wall. Instead of throwing it down in front of you and shooting from behind it using it as cover, throw it behind your target so they can't retreat and force them to take your roller flick for a one-hit kill. That can be very effective. It's better than you would think it is, and it's generally how I see good CoroCoros play. Its special is the Inkzuka. It's a great special that gives the set a way of dealing with snipers or checking long hallways that would otherwise be dangerous for a roller to go through. Remember that you have unlimited ink during a special. The splash wall has excellent synergy with the Inkzuka, giving you cover anytime, anywhere to use your Inkzuka from behind. It allows it to be a lot more aggressive in addition to dealing with snipers. This set honestly isn't really all that special, but it does at least try something different. Not many rollers can say they have an easy way at fighting back at long range. And actually, I need to make a revision. As much as I was trying to be funny with that description of CoroCoro magazine, this weapon itself was actually leaked a week early because it was revealed in CoroCoro magazine. The only way this thing could be a more fitting representation of that company would be if the ink tank leaked before the match even began.